Tonight, the price of clearing encampments.
Is that a good use of city resources? I don't think so.
Tearing down encampments over the summer cost nearly $2 million, according to the city. We'll have reaction to these numbers. Plus,
we should all feel safe on our home and on our campus, and the fact that we don't, it's heartbreaking.
Thousands of Western University students walk out to support survivors of sexual violence after multiple allegations of assaults on campus. And
frankly, I think that their intensive care units are very full right now.
Ontario officials say they're trying to determine how to support Alberta's crippled healthcare system as it battles its deadly fourth wave of COVID-19. Good evening, I'm Talia Ricci. We begin with developing news from Mississauga, where 3 people have been shot. Peel police say they received a call around 8 tonight for a report of a disturbance in the area of Hull Street and Airport Road. Police say initial calls were about an altercation on the street involving 10 men. When police arrived at the scene, they found 3 victims with gunshot wounds. They were rushed to hospital with serious injuries. There's no suspect description at this time, but police are asking anyone with information to contact them. Numbers released by the city tonight show it costs nearly $2 million to clear 3 homeless encampments this summer. Among those costs are things like policing, fencing, and waste management. Greg Ross has the details and reaction.
According to the city, violent clashes like this one at a homeless encampment near Lamport Stadium came with a nearly $2 million price tag to taxpayers.
These particular costs that we shared today were to do with 3 very large encampments where we had posted trespass notices in April and then again in June.
It cost more than $800,000 alone for police and security that were brought in to evict people living in tents at these city parks. The remainder of the costs were for cleaning and restoring the parks.
To erect fencing to allow staff to remove debris, some almost 75 metric tons of debris from the 3 parks, and then to leave that fencing up to keep it secure so that we could then restore the parks to general public use.
Is that a good use of city resources? I don't think so.
Sam Riot works with the Ontario Coalition Against Poverty. She says while dozens of protesters showed up on the day of the evictions, there were only about a total of 60 people living in all 3 parks at the time.
It's about $2 million to have moved 60 people, and that works out to about $33,000 a head.
The city says throughout the course of the pandemic, they did refer hundreds of others who were living in tents to shelters and temporary housing.
We, acquired leases in several hotels for a couple of reasons. One, we had to increase the physical distancing within the shelter system so that we could have that 2 meters, 6 feet distance.
And in the end, they say the evictions were necessary for those who refused to leave.
You can't force people to come inside, but you cannot camp in parks. It's illegal and as we know, unsafe.
But homeless advocates say the city's shelter system isn't safe either, and a better solution is permanent housing.
Those are not permanent solutions. Those are not homes for people. People need to have a home. They need stability.
The city says there are still beds available at city shelters and hotels. Greg Ross, CBC News, Toronto.
Thousands of Western University students walked out of class today. Their protest coming just days after allegations began to surface about female students being drugged and assaulted during the school's orientation week. Dale Manukduk has more from London.
Passionate pleas for change. A sea of students uniting to tell victims of sexual assault, "We believe you." To tell young men that boys will be boys doesn't cut it. To tell Western University, do something.
Your students are not safe here. You are putting them in danger.
What happened, it's disgusting what happened, and we should all feel safe on our home and on our campus, and the fact that we don't, it's heartbreaking.
The university doesn't even address fraternities as the problems, but they're the ones that are carrying out the druggings and are doing the vast majority of the rapes.
The walkout was organized after allegations of the drugging and sexual assault of around 30 female students during the school's orientation week. students wrote and pinned notes of support.
People were just dropping like flies, and that was definitely true. I was walking from Kings all the way kind of to this area, and everywhere, just unconscious people.
Police have not received any formal complaints about that incident, but 4 women reported sexual assault incidents the previous week.
We feel like we let our students down. We're disappointed by the events that have been tumultuous, and we're going to have a review of what we did that night, what we could have done better.
Thousands of students have begun their march down University College Hill, and while they hear the words and see the statement from the university and acknowledge that it's a small step in the right direction, they say that more needs to be done.
Obviously, we've seen that the things in effect are in place right now aren't really helping. Western has had high cases for so many years. It's a lot of partying and a lot of people thinking that they can just do and get away with it whatever they want.
Western University is launching a new student safety action plan and task force, including implementing mandatory in-person sexual violence awareness and prevention training for all students and residents. Dale Manukduk, CBC News, London.
Police say they're now looking for 3 suspects connected to yesterday's deadly home invasion in Hamilton. 21-year-old Hasnain Ali was killed. His father, 63-year-old Fakir Ali, was kidnapped and found dumped hours later. Natalie Collada has the latest on the investigation.
Police believe 63-year-old Fakir Ali was the target of a violent home invasion yesterday morning, but they're still looking into why.
It appears to us at this point in time his sons were trying to help him, and unfortunately they were shot, and Hasnain succumbed to his injuries.
I didn't have the word to say and think. It was just blowing up my mind.
Ijaz Butt says he's known Ali for more than 30 years, but says he last spoke with Ali at the local mosque 2 to 3 weeks ago, and there was no sign anything was amiss.
He was as happy as he was always.
The 63-year-old is well connected, both with Pakistan's former political and military leadership and in Canada too. His website has many photos of him with prominent politicians.
He always left me with the impression of someone that was determined to be involved in the community and help out.
Brampton Mayor Patrick Brown was shocked to learn of yesterday's kidnapping.
I got to know him when I was a member of Parliament, probably 10 years ago. He was known as someone that was Paul Martin's Hamilton organizer when Paul Martin was the Prime Minister of Canada and Liberal Party leader. I enlisted Fakir's help when I was running for the Ontario PC leadership, and he organized the Hamilton ridings.
In Hamilton today, police have seized a black SUV believed to be involved in the kidnapping and continue to search for 3 suspects. As for Ali and his other son, both remain in hospital, recovering in stable condition. Natalie Collada, CBC News, Toronto.
Meteorologist Colette Kennedy joins us now for a look at the forecast. And Colette, today felt like a nice little throwback to midsummer.
Yeah, it really was. Not just with the temperatures, right, Talia, but also with the humidity that we've been experiencing. It's not going to stick around, but still, today we had our Humidex values up around 33, the temperature up to 26. Well, just looking forward, we do have a new air mass that's going to be moving in for tomorrow, and you'll see, though, still highs above seasonal, 24 degrees, but just it won't be as sticky as well as it was today. And then looking ahead towards Sunday, temperatures come down a little further, highs in the low 20s. Again, seasonal this time of year is closer to 20, so we're still ahead of the game. And Monday, a bit of a spike, and that carries on. But you know what happens is as we get towards Wednesday, the first official day of fall next week, we're still seasonal, but it's after that. It's almost like, you know, Mother Nature can just read the calendar, because we're going to find the temperatures cool off for the end of next week with daytime highs in the upper teens. Tonight, as that front goes through, a few spotty showers along it, some cloud cover and fog in the morning hours, and then that will burn away and we get into sunshine, and it will become a beautiful day on Saturday. 17 your low tonight. Tomorrow, 24 degrees. We'll look at the rest of the weekend in terms of those conditions coming up, Talia.
Thanks, Colette. ICUs in Alberta are filling up with COVID-19 patients. Today, Ontario's health minister has confirmed the province is ready to help. Lorenda Redekop has the details.
Alberta is struggling with packed ICUs, patients being transferred to other hospitals. the same issues Ontario dealt with earlier in the pandemic.
This is a truly cross-Canadian effort. There was a time when Ontario needed some help as well, and other provinces helped us. We will certainly do the same.
She says officials are working out exactly what that support will look like. Alberta officials say ICUs were at 155% capacity until extra beds were added.
It may be help in intensive care. Frankly, I think that their intensive care units are very full right now. There may be other requirements that they have as well, but I would expect intensive care assistance would be top of the list.
The head of Alberta Health Services said yesterday the two provinces are discussing the possibility of transferring patients. That's as Ontario has 194 patients in ICU due to COVID, far lower than the record 900 reached in May.
Is there room in Ontario ICUs for people from Alberta with COVID-19? Yeah, I would say there are. It's not a perfect situation, but there are. Could people from Ontario go to Alberta to help out? Yeah, sure. I'm sure we could. But of course, I think we have to recognize as well that healthcare providers are busy. We already have full-time jobs. Many of us are pretty exhausted from the last year and change. And you might not get a lot of people volunteering to do it.
The University Health Network says it's still operating at more than 100% occupancy across all its sites and doesn't have the capacity to send healthcare workers there.
They're tearing apart at the seams, it sounds like right now.
This emergency room doctor says Ontario should do whatever it can. He says where he works, it's much different than back in spring.
At the height of things, we were intubating 3-4 patients a day and having multiple admissions a day. Now, I haven't intubated anybody for COVID in a couple of weeks. I've only sent 1 or 2 maybe to the ICU in a couple of weeks.
He says he'd go to Alberta if needed, that healthcare workers are in this together. Lorenda Redekop, CBC News, Toronto.
With the federal election 3 days away, Liberal leader Justin Trudeau is asking a Toronto candidate to pause his campaign. This comes after the Toronto Star reported Spadina Fort York candidate Kevin Vaughan was charged with sexual assault, although the charge was later dropped.
We are a party that always takes seriously any allegations or reports of sexual harassment or intimidation or assault.
Trudeau said his party only learned of the allegations on Thursday from the Star's report. In a statement, Vaughan says the allegations are false and that he vigorously fought them when they were first brought forward. The candidate nomination process is now closed and parties aren't allowed to replace them. And we're learning tonight that Vaughan, who is also a naval reservist, is also now under review by the Canadian Armed Forces for failing to notify the military in 2019 about the arrest. Military members are required to share criminal charges with their chain of command. The military is deliberating what steps to take next. The People's Party of Canada could threaten the chances of a Conservative win on election night. Vote splitting on the right appears to be a factor in a number of tight GTA races right now. Chris Glover spoke with voters in York Centre, where support for the PPC is among the highest in the city.
In an election race as tight as the one in this riding, any little thing can shift the outcome.
I'll vote Conservative.
Not for O'Toole. I don't like his face. I'm going for Trudeau.
My motivation is Justin Trudeau for sure.
Only 3 percentage points put the Liberals ahead of the Conservatives in Toronto's York Centre. CBC analyzed data in 8 of the tightest races in the GTA. If you add the People's Party's projected vote share to the Conservatives would be ahead of the Liberals in all of those ridings. That polling data leading to the Toronto Sun's front cover today, showing Bernier crowning Trudeau.
I've been Liberal my whole life, but we did Conservative this year.
Lori Bogler wants the Conservatives, but won't be too distressed if the People's Party pulls support away.
I just know what my vote was, and I feel good about it.
And I don't understand why anybody would vote for the People's Party.
Rookie Martinez is voting Liberal.
The Liberal vote or the Progressive vote is split between NDP and the Liberals. So I'm glad that there is Maxime Bernier's party that's going to split the vote on the right.
Right, and this has happened for decades in Canada.
But we haven't seen it on the right, at least not since the Reform Party and Canadian Alliance.
Political scientist Randy Besco says early choices in the Conservative campaign could be contributing.
One reason for that might be because, especially at the beginning of the campaign, we saw the Conservative Party and Erin O'Toole distinctly move to the center.
What the PPC is going to do in this election is something that is still a big question mark.
Polls analyst Eric Grenier says polling data from Abacus shows the PPC are not necessarily stripping votes from the Conservatives.
A lot of them are also people who might have been disengaged from politics in the past, so probably did not cast a ballot.
This one, I'm leaning towards voting, at least to give the People's Party a fighting chance.
Typically a non-voter, Ellie Sherman says he feels motivated to vote.
I like the fact that they're, I think, the only party that's not pushing this vaccine agendas, and they're actually letting people have a choice.
And you're ready to do that fight.
But despite a recent surge for the People's Party, mostly fueled by concerns over lockdowns and COVID vaccines.
Yes to freedom.
We're going to have the block. They'll never go anywhere.
The majority of voters we spoke to in York Centre don't think it'll last. Chris Glover, CBC News, Toronto.
Working quickly. Guerrero rips it to left field. Number 46 for Vladdy.
The Jays kicking off their series against the Minnesota Twins at the Rogers Centre tonight, hoping to continue their hot streak. The Twins scored 6 runs in the third, but the Jays kept the momentum going with this solo homer from Vladimir Guerrero Jr., his 46th of the season. Unfortunately, the Jays couldn't catch up this time. They lose 7-3. And there's a live shot of the city tonight, partly cloudy with a chance of showers overnight. Temperatures dropping to 17 after a warm September day. Colette's back now with our extended forecast, and you already alluded to this, but I'm guessing it'll start to feel more like September again pretty soon.
Yeah, we've got a few days yet, Talia, where we're going to have these temperatures, not as warm as today, okay, but still above seasonal. But then fall comes in mid next week, and after that, we will see those temperatures coming down a little bit. So just enjoy it while it's here. If you do like the warmer weather like myself, know that as we have the front coming through tonight, we do have a few spotty showers along that frontal boundary. And again, some fog development, so some areas with reduced visibility, and that kind of lingers into the early morning hours, and so does some of the cloud cover before we see that burning off behind that front. And once we get into that, it means we get into sunshine, and we're going to have quite a bit of that this weekend as well. Just a minor change. So the temperatures come down, the dew points, so the stickiness of the air comes down as well for the next few days, and then it starts to come up again on Monday. So a little bit of up and down that we'll be seeing. In general, though, we're above seasonal till we get to Thursday of next week with our daytime highs. So here's the system trying to work its way through. You can see this isn't very well supported with rainfall. A few of these spotty showers here and there. It does have a lot more cloud cover with it, and some of that lower level cloud, that stratus cloud or fog, is something to be mindful of. If you do need to be on the roads, especially early tomorrow morning, kind of take it easy or allow a little extra time because you may need it. And then as we get through towards lunch hour, and perhaps even a little sooner, we'll be seeing things kind of clearing out and that sun coming through. It means clear skies tomorrow night, and it means clear conditions and sunshine all day on Sunday as well. So it is going to be a decent weekend for sure, weather-wise. Plenty of it, even if there are a few sprinkles early tomorrow morning. All right, tonight your temperatures mild again tonight. For Windsor, 17 the low. Tomorrow up to 25. Might take a little bit longer. Areas closer to water where we'll see a little bit more of that cloud hanging on or that fog, but you will get into the sun as well. And also some mild lows tonight all around the Golden Horseshoe here. Look at these temperatures. Really comfortable readings we'll be seeing. The winds turn towards the north, and that's why you're really going to kind of feel that change. And you'll feel it more so, feeling a little crisper into Sunday. And then we just start to turn things around once again. Slight chance that we get into some showers late Monday into Tuesday, but a greater chance of that on Wednesday, Talia.
Thanks, Colette. The year's Emmy Awards are happening on Sunday, and it's been an exciting month for a locally based visual effects studio. Mars has been nominated for 2 Emmy Awards for outstanding visual effects in the TV shows WandaVision and The Umbrella Academy. I visited the studio to learn more about what they do.
We're super thrilled. I don't think we anticipated that we would be receiving not one, but 2 Emmy nominations in our first 2 years. But, you know, the credit goes to the shows that we get to work on. We're nothing without them. You know, it was so much fun to collaborate with Marvel, and it's been so much fun to collaborate with Netflix on Umbrella Academy. It's one of their most popular shows, and so yeah, it was a great day at work, and you know, then it was just back to it. Hi, I'm Matt Panousis, and I'm the COO of Mars. Mars is a VFX and technology company. VFX is the artist's manipulation of raw footage, right? So it can be, it's super varied. I actually find it hard to explain to people because it can be something as obvious as a monster or an alien or a robot or a zombie. But it can also be, you know, you're shooting in Vancouver, it needs to be LA. We've had a really busy first 3 years. We've done over 40 TV series now, and I think about 13 films, which is a lot of volume.
Just bring up the other, let's say the final shot again. Hi, my name is Lon Molnar. I'm the co-president of Mars. Just Emmy nominated is a big deal. I think it just kind of puts us into another tier. Obviously, it feels amazing that we're being recognized for all the cool work that we've been doing. So the work that Marvel came to us for was for Vision. So we had to basically replace a giant portion of Vision's head, and we specialize in TV. Speed and quality is kind of our metric that we go for. So they basically gave us the digital asset that another vendor had done and said, you know, push it through your paces and see what you can do. And we were able to use basically GPU rendering, which is what we specialize in, and it accelerates the rendering by about 10 times. In total, probably about 20 plus artists worked on that show in various degrees.
So I know you mentioned this is like a global company, but what do you think these nominations and the talent that you're seeing in Toronto says about the city and the future of the film industry here?
I think Toronto is doing incredible things. The quality of work coming out of Toronto is improving. Netflix opening their office here is super demonstrative of how Hollywood views Toronto. And so yeah, we're very happy to be operating out of Toronto.
And that's our show for you tonight. Thanks so much for watching. Maribel Tarouk has your next local newscast tomorrow at 6. Have a great weekend, everyone. Good night.